I didn't expect to spend my daughter's wedding morning thinking about a closet. But a few hours later, that's exactly where I was, standing in the dark, holding my breath, because someone didn't want me seen. That comes later. Back then, everything still looked normal, too normal. Honestly, my name is Delphine Carter. I've buried a husband, signed more contracts than I can count, and raised one daughter who somehow turned out softer than I ever was. This was Irene's day, her wedding morning. The Savannah townhouse was already buzzing, phones ringing, someone arguing about flowers. The smell of coffee burned too long on the stove. Just one sharp thing in the air. Caleb Monroe kept hovering. Not in a nervous groom way, more like checking exits. He asked me 3 times before 9 whether Irene had time to sign the last bank confirmation before noon. Kept saying it light, like it was nothing. I told him I'd already reviewed the prenuptial agreement weeks ago, every page. Slowly, he smiled and said, "Right, of course." Then corrected me on the trust structure, corrected me on something I'd built myself. That should have landed harder than it did. I let it slide. That's one of my stupid habits. I tell myself I'm being gracious when I'm really just avoiding a scene. He checked his watch again. Tapped it once with his thumb. Small thing, loud, somehow. I remember thinking, if you're marrying into peace, why do you look like you're racing a clock? That was when Nora Hale appeared in the doorway, Irene's maid of honor. Face pale, eyes not celebrating. She didn't say hello, just said my name, quiet, like she was already afraid of being overheard. And that's when the morning cracked. Nora Hale didn't hug me. That was the first thing that felt off. She closed the door behind her with her foot and leaned against it like her legs might quit. Her dress was perfect. Her hands weren't. They shook. Not wedding nerves. This was work fear. I know the difference. "Mrs. Carter." She started, then stopped. Swallowed. Tried again. "Delphine, I messed up a long time ago. I told her to breathe. She didn't. Caleb knows," she went on, fast now, "about a compliance error. Minor. Fixed. But if he reports it, it looks intentional. Career-ending intentional." I didn't answer right away. I watched her eyes. They kept flicking to the hallway. "He made me help," she added. "Not illegal, just smoothing things." I didn't realize how bad it looked until it was already done. I told her to slow down. She shook her head. "I can't explain it. You won't believe me. You have to see it. Hear it." Her voice cracked on that last word. "If I tell you out loud, he'll twist it. He's good at that." I felt that shift then. Power sliding. The kind that happens when someone stops asking and starts warning. "He's coming here next," she whispered. "With his mother. They think Irene's downstairs." I took a step back. Not fear, calculation, old muscle memory kicking in. Nora reached for my arm. Missed. "Tried again. Please. Just for a few minutes, I swear, if you walk in on them, it all disappears." Footsteps in the hall. Calm. Unrushed. Nora's grip tightened. "Trust me, or everything stays clean on the surface." Footsteps echoed in the hall, heavy and hurried. Nora's eyes went wide. "They're coming here. If you walk out now, he'll just lie. Get in. Hear it for yourself." She shoved me toward the cedar closet just as the handle turned. Nora didn't wait for my answer. She moved like she'd already decided for both of us. One hand on my elbow, the other on the closet door. "Now," she whispered, not panicked, focused. That scared me more. I stepped in because the hallway sound changed. Shoes, 2 sets, unhurried. The door swung open wider, and I caught a quick smell of cedar and old perfume, something Irene's grandmother used to wear. Then Nora was right in my face. "Phone," she mouthed. I pulled it out. My fingers felt dumb, thick. She tapped the screen, pointed. Record. Airplane off. Don't cough. Don't move. I started. She cut me off with a look. Not rude. Desperate. If you walk out, they'll stop talking. If they stop talking, you won't have anything. The voices were right there now. Close enough that I could hear fabric, brush fabric. A woman's voice, low and steady. Caleb's. Familiar and easy. The one he used when he wanted things to sound small. Nora eased the door in until the light thinned to a line. Her breath hitched once, then she was gone. I stood between wedding dresses. Silk brushing my wrist. My heel caught on a shoebox, and I shifted. Slow as a bad thought. I pressed record and set the phone against my thigh. Screen dark. Clara's still downstairs. The older woman murmured, "We won't get another window like this." "I know," Caleb replied. Calm. Too calm. That's why it has to be now. My heart did that stupid thing where it forgets how to beat quietly. I held my breath and leaned into the coats, trying to make myself smaller. You ever realize how loud your body is when you need it not to be? That was me. The door closed the rest of the way, the latch clicked, and whatever truth Nora had dragged me into the dark to hear, it finally stepped closer. Judith Monroe spoke first. Her voice had that soft boardroom tone, the one that makes panic sound like planning. "We don't have room for delays," she told him. "Not today." Caleb let out a breath through his nose. "I know. I've handled it. You've managed it," she corrected. "That's different." I pressed my shoulder into the coats. The phone buzzed once in my hand. I stilled it with my thumb. Judith continued. "Quieter now. 3 extensions already. If the bank pulls this one, we're exposed. All of it." "They won't." Caleb replied, "Once the marriage is official, the bank can't retract the extension without triggering defaults." There it was. Clean. Surgical. Not emotional at all. And the guests, Judith reminded him. The Whitman Group. East River Holdings. They're all downstairs. Smiling. Watching. Caleb gave a short laugh. They love weddings. Makes people feel safe. Judith didn't laugh back. They're lenders, not relatives. Silence stretched. I heard fabric shift. A glass set down. Irene signs after breakfast. Caleb added, "Just confirmation pages. She trusts me." Judith hesitated. That was new. Delphine reviewed the agreement. "I didn't change the agreement." He replied, "Too quick." "Just the timing." My jaw tightened. Timing. That word again. It kept showing up like a bad smell you can't place. Judith lowered her voice further. "If she notices, she won't." Caleb cut in. "People don't read what they think is settled." He sounded bored saying it. Like this was basic math. Judith sighed. Not relief. Pressure leaking out. "Your father built something real. We're trying to keep the doors open." "I know what's at stake," Caleb answered. Sharp now. "I'm the one standing at the altar." I almost laughed at that. Bit it back. You ever hear someone confuse risk with sacrifice? That was him. Judith softened. "Once this clears, we breathe. We fix the rest quietly." Caleb didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice dropped. "There is no rest if this doesn't close today." Their footsteps shifted closer to the door. My pulse jumped. I pressed the phone harder into my palm, recording every word, thinking how strange it was that love sounded exactly like a balance sheet when nobody thought anyone was listening. Judith lowered her voice again, not because she was scared, because she was tired. "Walk me through it," she told him. Slowly, Caleb exhaled. I heard paper slide. Thin, clean, legal. I didn't rewrite anything. He replied, defensive now. I didn't just swap a page. I slipped a technical amendment into the stack during the florist's arrival. Irene was so distracted by the centerpieces that she signed the signature line on the addendum without looking at the definitions page attached to it. My stomach dropped. That section mattered. Everyone in my world knew it mattered. The signature page stays the same, he continued. Same font. Same initials. Same flow. It was buried between disclosures no one ever reads twice. Judith clicked her tongue once. Sharp. And the language. Caleb shifted. It reframes separation. Just tightens it. Tightens how? By treating postmarital growth as shared exposure. He sounded proud of that phrase. It's standard in joint investment vehicles. Judith didn't respond right away. When she did, it wasn't approval. It was calculation. Delphine will notice. No, he answered. Calm again. She reviewed the agreement weeks ago. People stop reading once they think something's settled. Another page moved. Faster this time. She'll sign without reading the middle pages. Caleb added. Flat. Certain. Everyone does. I felt my grip on the phone change. Not shaking. Hardening. That sentence landed different than the rest. It wasn't pressure. It was intent. Judith let out a slow breath. This is deception. This is timing, he corrected. If we miss today, the extension collapses. And if Irene finds out, Caleb laughed once. Short, dry. She won't. She trusts me. And even if she notices later, it'll be done. Assets don't unwind cleanly. Judith went quiet. I could picture her weighing it. Pride versus survival, reputation versus exposure. You're asking her to absorb our debt. She finally murmured. I'm asking her to marry me, he replied. Sharper. The rest is mechanics. I pressed my shoulder harder into the coats. Wool scratched my skin. I barely felt it. Judith spoke again, softer now. After this, we clean it up. There is no cleanup if this page doesn't get signed. Caleb replied. The bank wants confirmation today, not intent, not promises. Proof, paper folded. A document tucked away. Then don't lose your nerve. Judith told him, I won't. He answered. I'm not changing anything that matters. I stared at the dark fabric inches from my face, thinking about how quietly a life could be redirected. Not with force, not with drama, just one page where it didn't belong. The door opened, closed. Footsteps moved away, then silence. The kind that rings. I pushed the door open and stepped back into the silent suite. The room felt different now, heavy with the secrets I'd just recorded. Nora was still there. A ghost on the edge of the bed. Nora was still there. Sitting on the edge of the bed, hands clasped so tight her nails had gone pale. They're gone, I told her. She nodded once. Didn't look up? I know. She reached into her clutch and pulled out her phone. No shaking now, just tired. I didn't want to do this. She muttered, scrolling. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Just float things until the wedding cleared. She turned the screen toward me. Lines of transfers, dates, amounts spelled out in clean columns. $200,000. Another one for $150,000. Each marked as vendor deposits. Each routed somewhere else. Interest payments. She added quietly. Not vendors. Debt service. I didn't react. I let the silence do the work. He moved the wedding money. Nora went on. Used it to keep lenders calm until today. Once the marriage confirms, the extension locks. I nodded. Once. Enough to tell her I was following. If this comes out, he'll say I helped, she whispered. He'll say I planned it. I met her eyes then, held them. My attorney already has copies of everything you sent last night. Time-stamped. Backed up. Her breath broke. Just once. You're not alone in this, I added. And you're not the one who set the trap. Nora leaned forward. elbows on her knees. What happens now? I slid my phone back into my pocket, the recording still warm against my leg. Now, I told her. We wait until he finishes what he thinks he's winning. The music downstairs swelled. Chairs scraping, guests settling, and for the first time that morning, I understood how expensive patience could be. I stood outside Irene's room and listened to her laugh. Not a big laugh, the soft one she uses when she's nervous and pretending she's not. I almost knocked, almost ruined everything. I didn't. That part matters. And if she defended him before witnesses, he'd walk away clean. I know my daughter. She'd say I was stressed, protective, reading too much into things. Caleb would hold her hands and lower his voice and promise clarity later. He's good at later. And later is where lies breathe. I told myself I was being cruel by waiting. Maybe I was. I also knew he could stall if he felt heat, lose a document, step out for a call, drag the moment until the leverage disappeared. Or worse, vanish with an apology and leave her chasing answers alone. I leaned my forehead against the doorframe and felt the house move under me. People walking, music tuning, time tightening. I texted my attorney 2 words. Be ready, he replied with a dot, then another. That was enough. I went downstairs and took my seat. Hands folded, face neutral. If you're judging me right now, fine. I've judged myself harder. This wasn't about catching him in private. It was about letting him commit in public, about witnesses, about gravity. He had to say I do in front of everyone who mattered. Only then would the lie stop slipping away from me. The music started. Soft, polite, the kind meant to calm people down. I sat in the front row. Hands folded, back straight. Irene stood a few steps away, glowing in that nervous, unreal way brides get. Caleb faced her, shoulders squared, jaw relaxed. He looked ready, too ready. The officiant cleared his throat, ran through the opening lines, love, commitment. The usual promises people nod through without listening. My phone felt heavy in my palm. Then it came. The pause. The shift in the air. The question everyone expects and no one answers. If anyone present knows a reason this union should not proceed. I stood. Not fast, not shaking. Just enough movement to break the rhythm. I do. I said. My voice surprised me. Steadier than I felt. I need a moment. A ripple moved through the room. Chairs creaked. Someone whispered Irene's name. Caleb turned toward me. Smile still in place. Eyes sharp now. This is not appropriate, he murmured. Low, controlled, for me alone. I walked to the sound table. The technician froze when he hesitated. I held his gaze. Please. He plugged it in. I told him. Full volume. The room filled with Caleb's voice. Calm, familiar, talking about extensions, about timing, about page 8, about how she would sign without reading the middle pages. Everyone does. My hand locked around the edge of the pew. Hard. I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. Judith's voice followed, softer, calculating, asking what happens if Irene notices, then silence. The recording ended where it should have. No edits, no drama added. Caleb didn't freeze. He forced a laugh, looking around at the guests. Delphine, this is a pathetic stunt. A doctored recording. I knew you were overprotective, but sabotaging your own daughter's wedding is a new low, even for a Carter. The officiant looked between us, unsure. Irene stared at Caleb, not at me, waiting. He swallowed, looked at the floor, at the ceiling, anywhere but her face. I stayed where I was. Didn't speak, didn't push. This part wasn't mine anymore. The room held its breath. Caleb's silence stretched. Heavy, awkward, permanent. And in that gap, the lie finally stopped moving. Irene didn't look at me, not once. Her eyes stayed on Caleb, like if she stared long enough, he'd turn back into the man she thought she was marrying. That could be taken out of context. He finally muttered, "Weak, late, private conversation, stress talking." She nodded slowly. Not agreement. Processing. "Explain it then." She told him. Calm. Scary calm. Explain the timing. The page. Caleb glanced at his mother. Judith didn't move. That told me more than anything else. I stepped forward, not into the aisle, just close enough to be seen. I handed Irene a folder. Plain. No tabs. No drama. I didn't pull this together overnight. I told her. I started after I heard what he thought no one would hear. She opened it, flipped one page, then another. Her breathing changed. Transfers. Dates. Vendor deposits rerouted. 6 figures at a time. Routed as vendors. Spent as debt. Interest-only payments tied to Monroe Holdings. Lender names she recognized. People sitting in these chairs. Caleb shook his head. That's not what it looks like. Irene didn't answer him. She kept reading. These signatures, she said quietly, tapping the page. They're yours. They authorize temporary movement, he replied. Faster now, defensive, all legal. Temporary for who? She asked. You or me? Silence again. The wrong kind. She turned another page. Slower this time. This debt. She continued. You told me your family cleared this years ago. Caleb's jaw tightened. I didn't want to worry you. She closed the folder, looked up at him. Finally. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. Not angry, not crying, just empty. He opened his mouth, stopped, swallowed. Judith shifted in her seat. Someone in the back stood up, then sat back down. The room felt smaller. Irene waited, gave him time. Too much time. He said nothing. She nodded once, like a decision locking in place. Then she reached for the glass of champagne on the small table by the altar. Didn't drink it. She took the contract from his hand, her eyes cold as flint. She didn't pour wine. She handed the document directly to my attorney, who had emerged from the second row. Mr. Vance, notify the bank that these signatures were obtained under fraudulent misrepresentation. Now, I thought I was marrying a partner, she said. Turns out I was almost marrying a balance sheet. She handed the empty glass to the officiant. Please ask security to escort them out. Caleb didn't resist, didn't argue. He just looked tired, like a man who ran out of words before excuses. I watched my daughter stand there, shoulders squared, and knew something had ended that couldn't be repaired. Not the wedding. Something older. Something quieter. And for the first time all day, I let my hands unclench. They didn't announce anything. No speeches. No apologies. Someone turned the music off. That was it. Security walked Caleb and his mother out through the side door. Quiet, no grabbing, no shouting. The kind of exit that leaves a longer bruise. People avoided looking at each other. Phones stayed down. Old Savannah manners kicked in hard. Irene sat on the front step afterward. Dress pooled around her like she hadn't noticed gravity yet. I sat beside her. Neither of us talked for a minute. I feel stupid, she said finally. You weren't. I told her. You trusted someone who practiced sounding safe. She nodded, accepted that, then softer. Thank you for waiting. That landed heavier than any apology would have. The lawyers handled the rest. Civil filings. Quiet calls. Lenders stopped smiling. Invitations stopped arriving. The Monroes didn't vanish. They just thinned out. Turns out reputation doesn't need revenge. Exposure does the job. Later that night, Irene and I ate takeout straight from the boxes. still in our clothes. No ceremony, no plans. I told her something I learned too late in life. Protection isn't about blocking every fall. It's about timing. Letting the truth land when it can't be bent or bargained with. If this story hit you somewhere familiar, tap like, leave a comment, or subscribe. You never know who needs to hear it before they sign the wrong page. I watched my daughter breathe easier than she had all day and thought about the dark, the closet, the quiet. If I hadn't hidden that morning, what future would my daughter have signed away?